Okay, thanks everybody for coming out. We're going to start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks again for coming out. We'll start tonight with item number 1, approve the agenda, make any additions, deletions, or corrections at this time.
So we added M8, which was a letter that got added to the packet. Then I just wanted to point out that you all have a revised signature page for tables. I turned in my mileage, planning to take a trip last Friday, and didn't take it, so it's actually less. The check to me is less than what we originally thought it was going to be. And I think that's it.
Okay. Dan, anything?
I have nothing.
Nothing.
I'm good.
Good. Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Dan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Lonnie, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes unanimously. On to the consent agenda. Everything there was in your packet. Are there any questions or anything that needs to be removed on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain.
I am just going to let you know that Shopko does still owe us their certificate of insurance, but we will not physically provide them with a license until we get that certificate of insurance. So you'll be approving their license. We'll hold it until we see their certificate of insurance.
Okay. So, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Dan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Doug, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Visitors to the council. First one is myself, recognizing some community involvement here. So we have, as you know, mayors over the past and councils approved people to be appointed to different boards, whether it's park board, EDA, planning and zoning, library, other boards, that type of thing. And when we appoint, we have to take applications or basically volunteers from the community, and they volunteer their time to serve on these boards, sometimes rather thanklessly. So I'd like to recognize some folks who have served and their terms were up at the end of 2017. First, I'd like to thank and recognize Mark Sonis. He served on planning and zoning from 2009 to 2017, so 8 years. Mark, thank you. Next, I hope y'all can hear me. We have Mike Langen. Mike served on the Economic Development Authority from 2002 to 2017, so 15 years. I'd like to thank Mike for his... Next, we have a Park Board member, Terry Myers, served on the Park Board from 2010 to 2017. Terry, thank you. And we have 2 other folks that couldn't be here tonight. We'd like to recognize Jeff Stevenson, who served on the EDA from 2015 to 2017, and Julie Olmstead, who served on the EDA from 2015 to 2017 as well. I'll make sure they get their certificates. I'll deliver both those in person. So, I'd like to thank all the members who have served. Appreciate all your time over the years. Don't be afraid to come see us again if you get some extra time on your hands in the future when we're looking for applications, and then everybody else who has served as well. So thank you very much. On item number 2, Jessica with Towards Zero Death presentation.
Hello. I'm just going to go over here if that's okay.
Perfect.
Get out of the way. So my name is Jessica Schleck. I've been the TBD coordinator for Dodge County for about 8 years. I'm also the Southeast Regional TBD coordinator, so I oversee the 11-county region as well as the things that we do in Dodge County. So I don't know how many of you know anything about TBD, heard of it, hear what we do in the county. So we're pretty active in this county. We're pretty lucky. I oversee, like I said, the Southeast region, so I see what other groups are doing, and ours is very active. So the statewide TBD program was launched in 2003 when traffic-related fatalities reached 655. So it was decided that what we were doing just wasn't quite enough. So it was established by the Minnesota Departments of Public Safety, Transportation, and Health as a deliberate interdisciplinary approach to traffic safety. So basically the members of the TBD team realized that moving forward towards this goal of zero would require building these connections between state agencies and local government. So, PZD regional partnerships have been established in 8 geographical areas throughout the state. So anywhere you go in Minnesota, you can find a PZD coordinator. We have 6 PZD coordinators in counties in Southeast, but still as a regional coordinator, I oversee, so I can do anything, anywhere. So same in every single region. So these are usually led by PZD regional coordinators. Each has a local steering committee that meets and they're just made up of local traffic safety stakeholders. They are led by a district engineer and a state patrol captain. So our vision is simple. To reduce fatalities and serious injuries on Minnesota roads to zero. So the mission explains just how we do that. And it really is just by collaborating. The PZD program focuses on 4 strategic areas to reduce crashes: enforcement, engineering, education, outreach, and EMS. We've recently included this 50, which is everyone else, because all of us share the road. So like I said, when PZD began in 2003, we were seeing an increase in traffic-related fatalities. 655 people died on our roads that year alone. So in 2016, we had 392 fatalities, and last year our preliminary total is 358. So you can see that's a 45% decrease in traffic-related fatalities since PZD began. So what we are doing is working. So it took a lot of effort and collaboration to get here. These are just a few of the legislative initiatives that have helped to push our trend line down. I'd just like to point out that these actions are really a result of the culture shift in Minnesota as it relates to traffic safety, because, as we know, most legislators won't support a bill unless the majority of people are in favor of it. So the table to the right shows the number of fatalities in the Southeast region by year. Those are actual numbers. The only thing that isn't is the 32 from last year, because it's still preliminary. But you can see every year we've been, since 2014, we have been decreasing our fatalities. So Southeast is heading in the right direction. So we've done a lot of great work these last 15 years to dramatically reduce traffic-related fatalities, which we should celebrate. But we really need to continue to educate and change the way people view traffic safety, and that's really why I'm here. All of the coordinators throughout the state, whether they're a county or a regional, are trying to get to all of their city councils this year. This is our 15-year anniversary. So as you can see, we've had 37 traffic-related fatalities on Minnesota roads compared to 44 at this time last year. So I love to point out this slide. 93% of the time, driver error is a contributing factor to crashes. So this slide shows how other factors contributing to crashes are interconnected, but I think the 93% is huge, and I think it's no surprise to any of us in this room. Anytime you drive anywhere, you see people on their phones, not paying attention, putting on makeup, they're shaving, they're driving too fast. So we definitely do see, all of us see the behavior as an issue. So what is our next step? With PZD, we really believe that changing Minnesota's traffic safety culture is our next step. So what is traffic safety culture? It's the shared values, beliefs, norms, and attitudes that influence behavioral choices that are related to traffic safety. So to put this into perspective, if you believe most people do not speed, you are less likely to speed, right? It makes sense. So behavior modification really requires a change in the culture of roadway users, meaning it has to become socially unacceptable for drivers to speed, drive distracted, that kind of thing. We really do think about this in recycling. 20 years ago, not everybody recycles. Well, now it's kind of socially unacceptable not to recycle. 10, 15 years ago, you could smoke in the bar. Now, socially unacceptable to smoke in a bar. So that's what we are trying to do, get out there and talk to people about this, change our traffic safety culture just as we've done with smoking and recycling and those kind of things. So this is just one example of what we've been doing. This is our Message Monday. Every Monday we have a message that relays traffic safety messaging, just in hopes of getting conversations started. Some people love these signs, some people hate these signs, but whether you love them or you hate them, you're talking about them, right? Have most of you seen these signs? So I would assume most have. But that's just, our messages are, we're hoping to use these messages to really change the traffic safety culture in Minnesota. So what are we doing locally? The Dodge County Safe Roads Coalition meets bi-monthly. There's a few members here. You guys can introduce yourselves if you want.
Josh Hanson, please.
I didn't tell him I was going to do that. So.
Scott Rose.
You guys all know them, but.
Jeff Burgess, Casson, please.
Sorry.
But the coalition is made up of law enforcement, engineers, EMS, health educators, and a few of the everyone else. So this is just one of the things that we have done in Dodge County. We actually hosted the DWI kickoff back in November. This is the Dodge Center Fire Hall. But it took a lot of work for the coalition to pull this together, and we really pulled it off. We had a lot of media there, and it was actually, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the crash car that we've had in Dodge County for about 13 years. They retired that crash car, and unfortunately, Caitlin, the girl you see in the picture, she was hit head-on by a drunk driver, and her parents wanted to donate her car to be used for educational purposes. So we were able to trade that car out and have a news conference kick off. Her parents spoke. The parents from the other cars spoke. It was a great event. So other things that we're doing, Dodge County, we meet and we review every fatal and serious injury crash that occurs in our county. We're looking for trends. We're reviewing our local crash data. So this is just one example. We had a fatal review where we had a crash review from this location, and we looked at it, and the engineer said, "Oh, I think something's up with the signs." So he was able to call the railroad and have the signs updated. And so we always say we count fatalities every single day, but we really don't count the number of lives that we save by what we're doing. A couple other things that we do mock crashes at the schools. Last year, every school had a mock crash. So these are a huge multi-agency effort, includes impact speakers, usually state patrol presentations, that kind of thing. Steve Jern really organizes the mock crash for Casson. We have Matt Moss, who organizes for Hayfield and Dodge Center. But they are huge events. So on top of the mock crashes, we're at each school at least twice a year, just doing different things with traffic safety. We focus on distracted driving, DWI, speeds, and belts. These are just two of the activities that we did. We have a distracted driving simulator that we take to the schools. The one on top, we had State Patrol came out with their t-shirt cannon, and we had a bunch of activities during the day with the students. Other things that we've done, we have a DWI obstacle course that we set up. So basically, they set up 2 courses, and then people wear different levels of impaired driving goggles, and they try to maneuver the course. We have also done this with distracted driving, so we have the kids Snapchat each other. So it's a good event. The kids laugh. They seem to like it. So, but we also do community events. This is the Business Expo in Dodge Dodge Center last April or March. It was funny because we were the busiest booth there because we had the sheriff and the dog. So everyone stopped. But we have a distracted driving simulator. I think we're going to try to bring the distracted driving simulator out there again. So if you're out and about, come and find it. So our goal for 2020 is 300 or fewer fatalities. But our goal in this room, if you really think about it, our goal is already 0 for our family and our loved ones. People always say you'll never get to 0. It's not attainable. Well, what is okay in your family? How many people do you want to lose? 1 in your family or 3 in your family? Or how many is okay for you to lose? So that's why we always say our goal is always 0. So I encourage you guys to go to the PVD.org website, check it out. There's a lot of information on there. I also give you save the date cards and a draft agenda for our workshop. Workshop's coming up Wednesday, May 2nd at the International Event Center in Rochester. Free workshop, free lunch, easy parking, easy to get to, great place to network. We have a lot of great topics. We'll be talking about the speed increases recently from 55 to 60, why those are happening, how that's affecting our roadways. The impact speaker is going to be the family of the car that you saw on the news conference that we did in Dodge Center. So they'll be there talking about how that crash has affected their family. Caitlin just had her 19th birthday on Monday, and they did balloons and had a whole big thing for her. So they'll be talking a little bit about that. Autonomous vehicles is another big hot topic on there. Rochester's not far from Casson, and Rochester's already downtown is already mapped out for autonomous buses. MnDOT has as a research road, so we've been researching the autonomous buses since November. They had them at the Super Bowl. But we'll also have another speaker that was just confirmed yesterday. So Ollie is an autonomous bus. They do a lot of the technology for the autonomous buses through IBM. So they will actually be coming and talking about how they're going to personalize these buses. So you'll have a little card, and you'll swipe your card when you get on the bus, and it'll know where you work, and it'll take you to work. That's driverless buses. So if you're intrigued, come to the workshop. But there's a bunch of other topics on there that are really interesting. It's a great fun day. So, you guys have any questions for me? Any comments?
No, I think you covered the information. Thanks for your work.
Yeah.
So obviously the goal is 0 and, one's too many.
We have
Thank
an-
you.
Yeah, and we do have an amazing coalition, so that's the best part. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anything the sheriff or police chief want to add to that at all, or?
Great program.
Yeah.
And the numbers, just the dramatic decline in numbers has been huge, so. Although we don't know if we get an autonomous bus speeding, we don't know who to write the ticket to. I'm not sure how that works.
Google.
Well, and
Right, yeah, Google.
that's a big piece of the workshop too. They'll be talking about how it will impact all of the E's. We had a conference up in the cities back in October, and they had the colonel, state patrol colonel up there talking about how it's going to affect law enforcement, and it is hard. If the bus crashes, who solves it? So, did anybody see I just saw this morning that California passed. Yeah, so they're gonna be able to attest. When does it start? Did you hear?
I think this spring.
So they'll be able to have autonomous driverless buses out on the road without any backup driver. So that passed, must have been yesterday.
Will the cord reboot, you know, when it
Right.
goes haywire? What do you do?
Yeah, how does that work?
Well-
How does it work with the semis they're talking about bringing?
Right.
Look at that weight traveling down the road with no operator.
Well, if you are bored later tonight, Google, I think it's Budweiser. It's either Budweiser, it might be Coors Light. But Google that, and they have an autonomous semi, and the guy is in the back seat, he's reading the paper, and he's eating lunch.
Me too.
He went like 1,200 miles.
Hasn't had no feet.
That'd be very,
How do you pull them over?
Right,
right?
right.
Well, if you wanna know more about it, come to the workshop.
Well, those are all great questions. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much for your help. Yep,
Thanks,
appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you. Okay, on to, I don't have any comment cards. No public hearing. On the committee report, number 1, Planning Commission. A, granting a 60-day extension.
So this is, to allow the council time to hear an appeal to the planning commission's recommendation on a rezone request, and then the following, conditional use permit request. You will hear an appeal today, but there's no anticipation you'll take action tonight. And this will just make sure that you have plenty of time to consider, what you've heard, and, at your next meeting, we can review what's in the ordinance, and have time to talk about it, but this will give you that time to be able to consider it fully.
Okay. Any questions for Teresa on that? Makes sense to me, so we can get the information from everybody involved, and we have time to consider everything. So, all right, so I'll entertain a motion to grant a 60-day extension for the purpose of hearing the appeal of the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation regarding the South Manorville Avenue property.
Motion.
Thanks, Doug. We have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Dan. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. On to B, appeal Planning Commission recommendation for the rezone of 105 South Manorville Avenue.
Give Johan just a minute to, you want to put your hands up?
Yes, do you have a VGA cord? I noticed this is hooked up with HDMI. I would need a VGA cord to make that work. But I'll run off my notes while you all set
Okay.
that up. I don't know. Just open it up. It should be ready to go there. Good evening to members of the council, Mr. Mayor, those who are visiting here tonight. My name's Johan Marsland. I live at 703 South Fork Place here in Casson. I also run the Train a Child Center and the Church of the Nazarene here in Casson. I'm here representing Kent Keller, who he is unfortunately in Mexico. He planned this trip a year ago, and it just happened to be that his plane was flying out tonight. He was unable to be here. So I'm representing him as well as the organizations that are seeking this zoning change. I want to begin by thanking the Planning and Zoning Commission for their work. They gave us a nice hearing. I felt that we were welcomed, that we're appreciated as a local business. I'm coming into this sort of thing a little on the blind side, in that I've never done a zoning kind of thing before, and I've been on a steep learning curve for the last month. So I have done my research in the last couple of weeks, at least to the best of my ability. I'm going to try to present that to you as fast as I can in less than preacher fashion. I'm going to start out with a little bit of who we are, because I think there is some misconception about who we are and what we do. First of all, the one buying the property and seeking this zoning change is Kent Keller. He is the owner and operator of Keller Technologies. He's an innovator in lactose engineering. He has turned that into a, well, in my opinion, a small fortune, which he now uses locally to help promote philanthropic development and property management across the region. You can see some of the things that he has accomplished here, both locally in Manorville, with the renovation of the Manorville School, as well as in Rochester, where he has helped to enable the launch of several businesses that reach into unique communities, such as autism and those recovering from physical ailments needing physical therapy beyond what can be provided in a hospital. The Train a Child Center and the Church of the Nazarene are not a church in your traditional sense. So we just don't have the vocabulary for what we are anymore, so it requires a little bit of explanation. While we are certainly a church, and therefore we're nonprofit in that sense, we are much more what's called a missional community. In other words, we're a small group of people who get together with a similar heart to provide services and a platform for outreach in the community. If you were to come to what we do, we don't have a worship service where people sit in pews and listen to a speaker every week. We rather have support group meetings so that we know we're growing together as a body of Christian believers, while we're looking for how can we contribute to the community. You'll see our goals and purposes there listed on the sheet that I have given you. To strengthen families in the community, to create a community of support for those who join our effort, and to provide and partner to establish developmental and care services that benefit all families in the community across the economic spectrum. In other words, of all the services that we directly provide, while we have a cost listed, it is always a suggested cost, and we will provide those services no matter. So it's a little bit of a community outreach in that sense as well. We do run the Train a Child Center, which has helped over 100 families over the last 6 years in the area, providing education, tutoring, and brain training, which is a unique intervention that helps to develop the cognitive skills necessary for learning. Our facility has also been used by 2 different dojos. We have a third who is requesting to use our facility to start a taekwondo and exercise program. We have pregnancy support groups that meet in our location, and doula services that use our location as an office. Women's health outreaches. We have established 2 years ago a Hispanic outreach, brought in a Hispanic speaker, David Perdomo, and his family. They have been self-supporting in the community, not taking a dollar from the community, but providing Hispanic services here to Kasson. Just the second column is a list of some other little things we've done. We've given away 2 tent loads full of household items in what we call a free garage giveaway. We've held the Family Development Forum. That was a 2-year-long, year-and-a-half-long initiative where once a month we did programs for families ranging in effect from how to get along with your kids to how can I educate at home to how can I best integrate with the public school environment and things like that. We've held community fun picnics, community meals every Saturday. It's always an open meal. It's provided free of charge to anyone who wants to come. We have been involved in the community's transient support, supplying hotel rooms and gas to people who call us. And also, we've been a venue for youth bands outreach. That was more when we were in a different facility than our current local one. So, why are we seeking the change in this property? The Images building there at the address in question would provide about 13,000 square feet of space that would allow us to expand the current school, which is right now 3rd through 12th. We can open up a K through 2 wing. As many of you may know, K through 2 is a different type of education than 3rd through 12th, and it requires its own space. We would also provide dedicated space for the students to have tutoring and training rooms. Currently, we're in a 40 by 40 building, and every room is used for 3 or 4 purposes throughout the day, and every room is currently full. Our program is 2 students beyond what we consider to be our capacity. We get calls for additional openings, and I have to turn them away or put them on a waiting list at this current time because we lack the space. We'd like to be able to expand our pregnancy support ministry as well. They do not have an office. We have a couple, a very capable couple. Kelly's, he runs the Taekwondo program. His wife is just a powerhouse of a lady, and they want to open up a daycare. We would open up a daycare in that facility. She also has a heart to open up a respite care facility. She has looked at this at 2 different times. She currently works for the Transportation Safety Board or division up in the airport in Minneapolis. I mentioned that to you because she's one of the leads there, and if you know the regulations that you have to follow to do that, you'll know that she does an excellent job at doing things to the details. I believe they could get the job done. Opening up a daycare center, one of the most needed things in our community right now. I'll say it's most needed because in the last month and a half, even though I don't advertise we have a daycare, and we never have, I've had over 10 calls for daycare openings at my school, which I have to say, you know, we're working on this, and we'd love to be able to provide this to Casson, but it's going to be a little while yet while we set this up. We also want to expand our usage to our Hispanic outreach. They call themselves Torres del Libertad. We'd like to give them a dedicated space. Renovate space for a community room. We would use part of that 13,000 square feet to provide a room available to the public for use for events. We believe in using our facility 7 days a week. Our current facility has somebody in it from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. And that's the way we would use that facility if we were to move into that one. The other 2 on there, you see, we would like to expand Taekwondo and expand use for our weekly dinners. So there's the reasons that we're looking to see this change in zoning. Now, you're a city board, I understand you have to follow legal code. So let me give you some arguments from that realm. Why does rezoning make sense? I'll cover these 4 very briefly and then in a little more detail. First, we want to remain consistent with Minnesota statute and historic policy on spot zoning. Second, it will provide flexibility and oversight advantages to you, the council, as to what goes into that location. Third, it would be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. I'll give you details there. It will be an incremental and contiguous transition of the downtown area to the vision that Casson has for that property. It will also enhance the businesses in downtown and enhance the business environment. So let me start out with spot zoning. When we came in for our original request, this was the first thing that was mentioned, so I want to start with this one. The whole conversation started with a mention of spot zoning that County 34 kind of stood in between the current residential commercial flex zone that is at Bremer Bank and the Images building. And therefore there was a barrier, and it would be spot zoning to zone across the street. I didn't know any better, so I went and looked up some policy, and I had asked for some help in finding some previous history. I went back and looked at some of the other zoning changes that had happened in our area. The most recent, right nearby anyway, was the Shopko rezoning, and read through the resolutions there. What I found is that in the discussion of the rezoning of the Shopko to a C2, there was an initial draft of the resolution that seemed to indicate that while the state says that the property is adjacent because it's only separated by the street, that the width of Manorville Avenue made that point moot. Now, obviously that place did get rezoned to C2, so the council must have reconsidered and considered Manorville Avenue not too wide to make the across the street an adjacent and not spot zoned area. Certainly if Manorville Avenue is not too wide to consider something adjacent, then County 34 should not as well. I looked at the historic patterns of zoning and Highway 34 as a boundary to see if historically it was used as a boundary. I pulled these maps largely off the internet. 2004, you can see a zoned map, that's the old one, and if you look at the map, it's hard to find County 34 on there. You can see in the upper left, there's a little section where, yeah, it follows County 34, but there's no zoning to the south of it that's different. It's just a wide open space. The map was redone in 2011, and they added some extra zones on there, I saw. But again, when I look at that map, I almost have to look to see County 34. Certainly, you can see right here at this location, there is a dividing line right there. And it sort of exists in this little half a section right here. But here, it's not used as a dividing line. As County 34 extends out to the west, it's not used as a dividing line. Residential commercial is both north and south of County 34, and the dividing line is arbitrary somewhere in between those lots. The same is true on the west end of downtown, where County 34 is no longer used as any kind of boundary. It's only in this little section that 34 is used as a boundary. I would argue that that is not sufficient to establish a historical pattern of using County 34 as a boundary in between zoned areas. You can see an even clearer map in the one that was done in 2014. So the next point I just wanted to touch on was one that was brought up in the Planning and Zoning Board discussion, which was traffic patterns. This picture that I've thrown up there for you shows both our current property and its current use and the new one in question. There was some concern that our new use in that property would add significant issues to the traffic problem. I would just like to point out, after looking at that and considering it, that this intersection that we would be using to enter our facility is actually much improved over the one that we currently use in our current location, in that this intersection does not have an opposing intersection across from it. This intersection is entirely controlled from the north by a traffic light, whereas in our current location, we have an opposing intersection on the other side, and we have traffic that is entering from both directions. And this particular intersection, can I tell you, it's on a yield sign. So these people just come around that corner and they just keep going, making the traffic at our current location much more problematic than should we move to this location here. Our traffic volume, while we do have a significant number of drop-offs in the morning rush hour traffic, is relatively low right now. We average about 12 cars in a 1 hour period. I checked that out this week. Now, it's an unofficial measure. You can measure for yourself. But assuming that we could expand our school to twice or 3 times the size of what we have now, that's looking at 36 cars in that 1 hour period. That's 1 car every 2 minutes or so. And that's a peak. It really wouldn't usually be that much. We have a lot of carpooling that takes place. So even if we look at the future, we're not looking at adding significantly to the current traffic patterns on Manorville Avenue. Now I want to move on to looking at the advantages to you, the council, of making this zoning change. The current zoning of commercial manufacturing has a relatively extensive list of already approved uses that, should somebody purchase the property, they can just start using it under those approved uses. Whereas the residential commercial flex zone has a significant list of uses, but most of the commercial ones require an additional conditional use permit, allowing you, the council, to have input on what kind of businesses go into this section should you rezone this. Now, if you leave the zoning as is, I went through the list and I found some interesting things in there that I'm not sure are really where we want to go with downtown. Currently, if somebody were to purchase the building, they could move a storage garage into that location and renovate the inside of the building to use it for warehousing and storage. Currently, approved uses would include a trucking company, hauling company. They could buy the building, start to use it, would not have to seek council approval for a conditional use permit under the current commercial manufacturing sector. Now, it's currently zoned the way it is because that's what its use was when the zoning laws were changed. Our long-term use plan says we want to transition the downtown to meet a different standard. The standard that we're looking to transition toward is one where our industrial uses, according to the city's current plan, is meant to be more in a park-like setting. Now, I find it very interesting that the Images company hasn't gone out of business. They're not leaving the area. Rather, they're transitioning their business to a more park-like setting from the downtown area. So the time to make the transition, the time to make the change from commercial manufacturing, which it was because of its use, to a more flexible and controlled zoning, such as residential commercial, would be when that business moves out, and that's what the opportunity that faces us right now. I appreciate you letting me go on through things, but I just wanted to make sure I was thorough since I came somewhat underprepared the last time I was here. We asked for an orderly and contiguous transition. You can see that we can easily move up into the RC zone. On this next page, all that I want to point out to you is that as we started to rezone downtown, as we made these extra spaces, what did we surround downtown with? 2/3 of that downtown is surrounded by residential commercial zone. It's this flex zone, because we understand that the downtown is a sensitive area. You want to have the most input you can through conditional use permitting process with the businesses that go in there to make sure that they're consistent with what is going to go in downtown. The only areas that are not are this one little commercial manufacturing zone, which was there because of previous use. So let me cover a couple things on your comprehensive plan. I read over it. It's really exciting. I also tried to get a piece of what's going on with the current discussions as you seek to revise it. I found some portions that I thought would apply to what we are looking to do. In the comprehensive plan, it says, although business development is an important component of growth in the city, and it certainly is, the city must also focus on developing amenities that will serve to attract and retain residents. Can I suggest to you, the council, that this project is a marriage of both? We are certainly a business. We are a nonprofit business. Our taekwondo company or taekwondo provider is nonprofit. Our doula is nonprofit. We're a nonprofit education provider. We're like a Sylvan, but we don't have to make a profit doing it. We are a business. We actually bring in traffic to Casson. I have students who come from Rochester. I have students who come from Grand Meadow for training, for tutoring. I have people who come from Dodge Center, from West Concord, from Mantorville. We are a draw to the community, and we bring in traffic to downtown. Locating our business near downtown will actually draw people on a daily basis to Casson and to the businesses that are here, which is consistent with what the city is seeking to do in its long-term plan. Economic goals, you see I've highlighted ones that I feel are consistent with the change we're asking for. Provide commercial sites adequate to meet for the expansion of retail and service sectors. We are a service sector industry. We are not primarily a religious outreach, though we have that as a part of what we do. It's what makes what we do affordable to anyone in Casson, because we have mission-minded people. But we are providing services to the community. We want an atmosphere that promotes business development, growth, increasing communication between the public and private sector. May I suggest that the nonprofit sector is a great mediator between the public and private sector. We encourage retention and expansion of local businesses. The Train a Child Center and Church of the Nazarene are locally founded and locally run. The church that I do work through, that's our governmental structure. Each local congregation is local first. It's not something that's sponsored by a big denomination nationally. It's locally sponsored, but connected nationally. Promote and develop a strong, balanced, sustainable local economy that meets the needs of current and future residents by providing reasonable opportunities. Live, work, play, shop, Casson. We're all of those. I'll let you read the last one. All right, facilitate the commercial goals of the comprehensive plan. I appreciate you staying with me as I go through these things. I found, as I read through this plan, I found this section and I thought, this is really where we fit. This is why this fits in downtown. It says, one opportunity for the downtown core to see an increase in traffic for commercial customers could be the location of public buildings that generate significant foot traffic in the area. Careful consideration should be made of exploring locations for city offices and possible expanded library. Location of facilities like this near the downtown core could help generate expanded customer opportunities for retail and other commercial businesses located there. Now, because it's your plan, you're talking about what you can do. But can I suggest to you that in a proper marriage of the private sector with the public sector, the private sector can also provide a means to your goals. We are a draw. We do bring people into Casson, and the people who come, a good portion of them, if you look around the room, we have several, walk there, and they walk through downtown. I also found the map of your downtown revitalization plan, and I just got a little chuckle to myself, because when I looked at it, I looked at where we currently are, and in your future planning, you want to make us into a park. And, you know, if the council wants to enter into negotiations for the purpose of purchasing our previous property, I'd be very happy to discuss that with you. And if you want to turn it into a park, we'll find a way to help you make that happen. Part of your downtown revitalization plan lists what makes Casson special. Notice that one of the things right in here is one that I just mentioned, the private-public partnership. That's what we're looking for in downtown revitalization. You're looking for people, if I can say it without being proud, you're looking for people who do what we do so we can partner with you and we can make Casson better. We can build this community together. You have it also marked that it's going to cost quite a bit of dollars, but it doesn't have to, especially with a proper partnership. And I did mark on this one page, I noticed that events and programming is one. That's part of our plan, if we manage to get into that facility, is to create that kind of space for the community. We're almost done, folks. Thanks for staying with me so long. The three core values of this development. Vibrant. As Casson continues to grow, special emphasis will be given to creating unique places where people can gather, connect, socialize, conduct business, entertain, and be entertained. A walkable Main Street. Listen, if the conditional uses stay the same and trucking company comes in there, that's not going to improve that. If we change that and you get the oversight you need, we can make downtown a very nice place to be. Collaborative partnership with school district and other local agencies and philanthropy groups and social clubs. I'm glad that these are your written goals. They're my written goals. To be partners with this community, to work together to make things better. And under prosperous, strategically investing in and protecting its existing community assets. Maintaining quality infrastructure aligned with future growth and allow for a balanced mix of housing, business, diversity, and commercial resources to keep Casson prosperous. In conclusion and in closing, let me just make this statement. We love Casson. If I don't get this facility, I'm not leaving Casson. I've had people say, would you be willing to look at a place in Byron? I've had two churches in Rochester say, would you move your facility to us? I said, no, we're called here to this community, to this county. We're invested here. So no matter the decision of the council or whatever you decide with the zoning, we're not going anywhere. We're invested here. My hope is that you will choose to partner with us, to work with us, to make this a right fit. We think it can make better for all. This changing zoning is good for the city and its citizens. It sets the zoning more in line with the future direction of downtown Casson, away from the manufacturing sector and toward a mixed zone that invites people. It shows that families are important to the city as it facilitates the expansion of commercial and nonprofit services, providing space for continued development of unique community-enhancing resources, businesses, and organizations in our community. And thank you again for your attention. I appreciate each of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that was for the rezone. Are there two separate ones for the conditional use permits, or was that kind of all covered in?
Right, because without a rezone, essentially the conditional use
Okay.
cannot be considered, but, I think he did touch on,
All parts of it?
Right.
Okay. You don't have to have a separate.
no,
Open up a separate hearing for that.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, on to number 2, the Arena Committee report.
Toya's not here. That was brought forward from your last
Oh,
meeting.
that's right, you went, okay. Number 3, Park and Rec, Lions Park Picnic Shelter. We've got,
Yes, you have 2 proposals in front of you, for that. This was priced, the picnic shelter was priced out in a couple of ways. Taking into account, some, different, is not the right quotes, some differing quotes for concrete and electric work. So you have 2 proposals in front of you. The council did budget $30,000 for the park shelter. The joint ventures, group has $7,500 set aside towards the shelter. And it's my understanding, that the Lions Club is currently working with our EDA coordinator, to obtain grant money to go towards, this shelter and the, picnic tables for the shelter. Did I get that right, Ron? And Terry, okay. All right. So, so tonight what we're looking for is a decision on which proposal, to move forward with.
It looks fair to me. The building is about $1,000 more than you said they did the one for last year, and steel has went up that much. The concrete they're doing for the exact same price he did for last summer and the other one. And he's got the comparisons in the electric.
so just like 27 by 56, is that the size of the one at the War Park, the big one?
It's actually 3 foot shorter. It's, that one up there was 30 by 56, this one's 27 by 56.
Okay, so similar size, but not.
Cleary's changed their, headers and made it just a little bit, so they don't use 8 pillars on the sides.
Okay.
They're gonna go with 4 pillars, so it's gonna
Okay.
be a little different that way.
Thank you. So we're just looking to approve which one, obviously, and then we have, so we have 30,000 already budgeted.
Right.
7,500 from the joint ventures, so that puts it at 37,500.
Yep.
So we'd be, and Lions Club is committed to the difference, right? Is that?
And they're working with,
Rebecca.
Rebecca on some grant opportunities, correct.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
We need to get some of
actually,
that space.
there's enough set aside for the building. It's the picnic tables really that are the difference, that kind of puts you over the,
Sure.
puts you over the top. So you do have enough for the building.
Okay. And the Lions Club is basically
Mhm.
buying it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions on that?
I just need to abstain from this because A&A has a bid on
Okay.
the project.
Makes sense.
Can we label these 1 and 2?
We'll label number 1 will be the one that's 43,000. And number 2 will be the other 40,740. I think it'd be a great addition to that Lions Park, as we've gone through this comprehensive plan process, with a lot of comments from people who use that park space that would like to see something there for some shelter and that, so I think it's in line with what people want, so.
Yes, this is right in line with the park board thought being the most important thing to do out there for us too, so.
There's been a lot of requests for
I'd
that.
like to make a motion on the number 2
To approve number 2.
proposal, yeah.
I'd like to second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and 1 abstention, so 3, with Lonnie abstaining. Okay, thank you, thanks to the park board, thanks, sir. Yes, Terry?
See, I've got, a couple of late breaking items that, matter of fact, they just happened last night. There's an outfit called Next Era Energy. They're a solar provider. And what they're entertaining right now is making our park their solar showplace. What they'll do for us is that item you see for electric, they'll pick that up. They also will install enough solar power and lighting to take care of the whole project. So we're pursuing that at this point. We haven't got anything concrete, but we've got an agreement in principle. And that will make that $40,000 stretch a little further for you. I'll give you more when I know more. The preliminary meeting was last night, and they wanted to move forward with this.
Okay.
We've also are gonna submit grant requests to Quick Trip, to the Casson Bank, or now Home Federal. Gotta watch that. And, Quick Trip, Home Federal. And we're gonna go through, Rebecca for the Bremer Trust and the DNR Trust. Hopefully, we'll be able to get this thing built, and they'll still have some money for some other projects.
Perfect. Keep us posted on that.
I
mean,
will.
anything- any
I will.
donations
I'm gonna,
we can get,
just
it'd be
'cause
great.
I'm off the park board, I ain't quit working.
I was gonna say that, you gave him a plaque tonight, but he
Yeah.
hasn't quit.
Now I don't have to answer to anybody.
That's the best kind of volunteering. You can do what you want. All right, thank you guys, appreciate it.
You
Thanks, Ryan.
bet.
Okay, on
Breaking
to
news.
new business. Number one, historic water tower restoration.
Yeah, so we've known for a little while that our tuck pointing there needed some work, and I did reach out to three organizations, who were listed on the Minnesota Historical Society website as approved providers of the service that we need for the repair. Two of them responded, and those are the two proposals that are in your packet. I had mentioned to both of them that we did have some cracks. One of the firms did aggressively present to us a proposal for taking care of those cracks, and I would actually recommend then that you go with the restoration company. They do have a presence in Rochester. They do work with stone buildings in Rochester, and they were able to come over locally and take a look at the challenges that we have at our water towers. So, do you have any questions for me about that?
No, I think it's work that needs to be done. We looked at it
Right.
this summer. I was out there a couple of times with Linda and Barb
Right.
and looking at the cracks, and we knew, we were just waiting for somebody to respond to us to actually get the
Yes.
work done.
Yes.
Because we've had that requested for.
Yes. Yeah, and we did have someone respond 2 summers ago and, who did not follow through, but we actually had more of a challenge really than we had indicated, at that time as well, so. I like the fact he was willing to address the pipe and the rust, and, I mean, really did a thorough job of taking a look at what we had and what it would require to get it in really good shape.
So in other words, he seemed more interested in doing it right than the rest?
Yeah, yep,
He's a little more, but he looks like he's doing more.
right.
Like he's doing, the scope is a lot more. Didn't they just work on the building on the Manorville Avenue, where the hair salon's at now? Manorville Avenue and
Oh,
Main Street? I think that was them. who
Was that
there.
the same restoration?
I think so.
I think their trailer was parked out in the city lot there
Okay.
for a
Okay.
couple weeks, so.
Yeah, I think it was sitting in town, and I wondered why
That
it wasn't.
logo
I
looked
see it in
familiar when I-
Rochester all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Teresa on that, as far as which proposal? I mean, I think it makes sense to me, I think we get more done. The dollar is more, but we have this money set aside in the fund for it, already allocated for it. And it would probably prevent us from having to go back and do it again next year, or the year after, so it might last a little longer too, so. That would be proposal number 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion
I'll make that motion
to accept
to
proposal number 1.
accept the, proposal number 1.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries unanimously.
And then we just had, Lonnie has one point of kind of clarification on where we are with the fund.
Just a clarification, for the water tower agreement, the Dodge County Historical Society just wants a clerical change, nothing that I thought was unusual. They're just asking for an invoice upon completion of any work to to be submitted to the Dodge County Historical Society, and I don't think the city would ask for anything different if they were having
Yeah.
something submitted.
We can't pay a bill without an invoice.
Right.
This is kinda
Right,
clerical.
it just clears it up if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah, so I'll make that clerical change and then, provide both parties with the, changes to the agreement.
Perfect.
Okay.
Wasn't there something with that anyway, that you had to have someone with all the
Credentials.
historic, I mean, the other invoice didn't look real.
Yeah.
Like maybe I
No,
gave it
no,
to
he
him.
was actually, he was off the list, he was from that
It
list.
looked historic.
so.
Oh, really?
He was on, yeah, he was on the list, I had contacted some
You have to get
folks.
approved to be on the list to do the
Yes,
historical society,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Number 2 for new business, 2018 budget amendment, I believe Nancy had,
Yeah, someone on the way, I must have made an error, but, so Ronnie needs to have that restored to that pool line item. But we have, another area where we can absorb that, so the suggestion is to just transfer. It's a net zero effect, but it gives him more in his budget.
something for the pool liner, what needed to be done, okay.
A lot of the drains and stuff that have to be replaced be in the 5th year. Ron left now, but some of them were about twice as much as what they had kind of planned.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the 5th year, the mat below the slide, I can't remember what you can't believe what a 3x4 rubber mat could cost, but it was wild.
Okay, so we're just making that switch between accounts, there's no.
Yeah, but it
effect
does
there.
need to be approved by council.
Okay, all right, thanks Nancy, appreciate it. I'll entertain a motion to approve the change to the budget.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second, thanks Doug, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimously. Thanks Nancy. Mayor's report, I really don't have a lot, just wanted to say, you know, our youth in town doing different things, the power lifters, the girls won a state championship here a few weeks ago. Congratulate them on that, and the boys came in 3rd, and then to wish our wrestlers, the best this weekend when they compete in the team competition tomorrow night, and then 11 individuals on Friday and Saturday, so, best of luck to them. And I did get a chance to go to Officer Bodenheim's retirement, little get-together, they gave between 4 and 6, stopped by him, talked to him, so again, I'd like to recognize his service to the city of Cashton and Dodge County for all the numerous decades that he's been around and working the lonely night shift as a police officer, so I'd like to congratulate him on a good career. On to the administrator's report.
So I have a written report that's, with the department head meeting notes, and then just a shout out to, our public utilities department. They have done an awesome job, with these last few snowstorms and, even been able to respond to some individual, challenges and are chipping away at the alley as best they can. Well, they are. They are chipping away at the alley as best they can, so.
We heard the machinery out there yesterday,
Okay.
I thought the building was coming down at one point, but they were putting the buckets down and scraping.
They were,
that's
they
for
were,
sure.
so, just a shout out, for the way that our streets have been taken care of.
Good, thank you. Engineers report?
Nothing to me.
Okay, just, maybe mention we did meet with the developers and real estate agents.
Yeah, you can see the map up there on the wall. We did, as part of the comp planning process, we did meet with the local developers and had a pretty successful meeting. They were a little tight-lipped, but, we opened it up to any future comments that they had on our comp planning process. Just at least gave them a chance to be heard, so if they wanna be heard, we gave them those avenues. So we'll see what comes of it as we move forward, so.
Perfect, thanks for putting that together too.
Yeah, no problem.
We're very well attended, and I think the
Oh, yeah.
information was good, Brad, you did a good job, so again, everybody's got the information, and they have the open lines of communication, if they've got questions or concerns, the opportunity's there, so.
I agree.
Thanks for putting that together.
Yep.
We're gonna move to the attorney, report, and we are gonna go into, we'll probably have to do 2 different closed sessions.
Oh,
Closed
no,
in-
we'll do one closed session, we'll record one and not the other.
Okay. We're gonna go into closed session to discuss a real estate offer and counter offer, and then to discuss the investment negotiations for South Marigold Avenue. So we'll close the meeting at this time, we'll reopen it in a few minutes.